Sydney be agreed to. I call the member for Balmain.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. I rise to address this motion from the member for Sydney on behalf of the Greens. It is a terrible day for the people here in the gallery of Millers Point. These evictions will have a huge social costs, while it's a happy day for the big end of town. It also feeds the worst fears of public housing residents in the inner city and the inner west. The Minister has explained the logic of this government, that these properties have high sales values, some of them are heritage, that they're expensive in terms of maintenance, so these are the properties that will be sold. So can you imagine the stress that puts on people in my electorate, in Balmain, in Lilyfield, in Rozelle, in Glebe, in Camperdown, in Forest Lodge? All of these suburbs are in the crosshairs. And this decision means that we will start to see the inner city and inner west cleared of public housing residents. And why do I say that? Because the Auditor General's report highlighted the financial mess that the Land and Housing Corporation is in. Selling these homes will not address the problem of financial sustainability. All it does is kick the can down the road a little bit more. So what happens when this money is gone from these asset sales? What next? Further asset sales. It's clear that the Minister has an approach which fails to deal systematically with sustainability of this sadly broken Land and Housing Corporation. But the government has said, and correctly, they are simply following what the last Labor government did, and that's true. Labor started this by privatising people's homes and selling them. And sure, it was the Howard federal government that cut funds, but the New South Wales Labor government never came to terms with that environment and funded public housing adequately. That's why in my electorate and in your homes there's a $300 million deficit in maintenance, because after 16 years of Labor, that massive deficit was left. It wasn't solved, and this government is again failing to make the right steps. The government, for example, can come up with $300 million to give tax benefits to the paper machine industry, but they can't find money for public housing. And the Auditor General's report is also concerning because it looks at slugging tenants even more and more to pay for these problems. And in my electorate in Cowper Street, where Labor looked to privatise public land in order to provide more housing, and the demolition took place almost 3 years ago to this day, not one thing has been built, not a sod turned on that piece of property. And this government claims they're committed to housing. Well, if they were committed to it, the 99-year leases that they gave at Millers Point said would fund this new development in Cowper Street and Glebe, and nothing's happened. It's a disgraceful failure. It's continuing the problems that were inherited by New South Wales Labor, but this government is accelerating it and making it worse. It's a sad day.